What's going on, Mets fans? Brian here at Mets Mayhem. The New York Mets and the Arizona Diamondbacks concluded their three-game series at Citi Field on Thursday. The Mets came into this game with a 21-10 record, while the Diamondbacks came into this game at 16-14. Kodai Senga took the mound for the Mets, going on 6 days rest. For the Diamondbacks, the 6'2 righty from Somerdale, New Jersey, Gallen. Now, Gallen had been off to a poor start this year. His record was 1-4, an ERA of 5.57. Would the Mets get that version of Gallen, or would they get the former All-Star, dating back to 2023? The one who last year finished with a record of 14-6 with a 3.65 ERA. As always, thank you for the time you take out of your day in advance to watch this video. If you want to support the channel, I would appreciate you liking the video and subscribing. But enough of that. Let's get into Mets Diamondbacks, Game 3 at Citi Field. Let's get into it. Kodai Senga making the start for the Mets, top of the first inning, and he faces right fielder Corbin Carroll, leading off for the Diamondbacks. Senga falls behind him 2-0, and then he gets him to swing through a cutter at the bottom of the zone for strike one, but Carroll then singles on a 2-1 outside fastball, flies it to left field, drops in, so they have a runner on first. That brings up Geraldo Perdomo, who's killed the Mets this series, batting second in this game now. Senga gets ahead of him, 1-2, but then he strikes him out on the ghost fork for the first out. First baseman Pavin Smith up, and Corbin Carroll attempts to steal second, and he gets gunned out by Luis Torrens for the second out. Not sure when the league will learn their lesson. Can't really run on Torrens. He's done a fantastic job behind the plate there. Kodai Senga then strikes out Pavin Smith on a 2-2 forkball, and that retires the side. Francisco Lindor leading off the bottom of the first inning against Gallen. Lindor falls behind quickly, no balls and 2 strikes, fouls a couple pitches back before flying out on a 1-ball, 2-strike fastball up and away, right to Gurriel in left field for the first out. That brings up Juan Soto. He works the count to 3-1 before grounding out to Perdomo at shortstop on a fastball practically down the middle of the plate. Second out. Pete Alonso comes up, 2 outs. But Pete grounds a 1-1 changeup right through the right side into right field. Base hit for Alonso. So runner on first brings up Jesse Winker. 2 outs. Winker works the count full, fouls off a couple pitches, and then Gallen freezes him with a knuckle curve, striking him out and ending the first inning. Senga on the mound for the top of the second inning, and he gets the Diamondbacks in order. He gets Josh Naylor to jump on the first pitch he sees, a 91-mile-an-hour fastball up and away, but he pulls it on the ground to McNeil at second, tosses over to Alonso at first for the first out. Then Eugenio Suarez works the count full before flying out on a fastball top of the zone to Tyrone Taylor in center for the second out. And then Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is a victim of the ghost fork, striking out on a 1-2 count to retire the side. Mark Vientos is leading off the bottom of the second inning, and he chases an up-and-in 1-1 fastball, lines it right to Alek Thomas in center for the first out. Brandon Nimmo now comes up, and he gets a gift 1-0 cutter over the heart of the plate, but he ends up grounding out to Tim Tawa at second, tosses over to Pavin Smith to complete the out at first. Luis Torrens getting the start at catcher in this game, works the count full before drawing himself a walk, so now the Mets have a runner on first, 2 outs, brings up Jeff McNeil. McNeil lost a fly ball into right center field. Alex Thomas races over, makes the catch with kind of a half knee slide at the end for good measure to end the second out. With kind of a half knee slide at the end for good measure to end the second inning. So Alek Thomas, fresh off a nice defensive play in center field, leading off the top of the third inning for the Diamondbacks. And he works the count to 3-1 before grounding a ball to the right side into right field for a leadoff single. So Tim Tawa now up, and Kodai gets him to chase a 1-2 cutter up and out of the zone, striking him out for the first out. That brings up Jose Herrera, 1 out. After working him away the entire at bat, Senga comes down and in with a 2-2 sweeper. Herrera hits a bloop to right field, gets a base hit out of it. So Alek Thomas now up. So Alek Thomas with his speed makes it to third base, putting runners at the corners with 1 out. That brings up Corbin Carroll. But Senga bears down, and he strikes out Carroll on a 2-2, 96-mile-an-hour fastball, top of the zone, for the second out. Senga pitches around Geraldo Perdomo, walks him on 4 pitches to load the bases. That brings up Pavin Smith. Smith struck out in his first at-bat against Senga, and he strikes out again on an 0-2 forkball, so that retires his side in the top of the 3rd inning and strands the runners. Tyrone Taylor leading off the bottom of the 3rd inning, and Zach Gallen makes quick work of him, getting him on a 1-2 fastball at the knees for the first out. That brings up Francisco Lindor, and Lindor pulls an 0-1 outside changeup right to Tim Tao at second, who completes the out by tossing it over to Pavin Smith at first. So 2 up, 2 quick outs for Gallen. That brings up Juan Soto. And as much as he struggled, he continues to control the strike zone. He works the count full again, and he walks. So that brings up Pete Alonso, 2 outs, Soto on first. But Gallen gets Alonso on a knuckle curve down and away, getting him to ground out to Tim Tao at second, who tosses over to Smith at first, and that ends the 3rd inning. Top of the 4th inning, Josh Naylor leading off, and he walks on a 3-1 count. That gives the Diamondbacks the leadoff batter on. It's the 3rd time in 4 innings so far that the leadoff batter is reached against Senga. Senga then gets ahead of Eugenio Suarez, 0-2, but Suarez is able to make contact on a forkball down and away out of the zone. He grounds it to Vientos at 3rd. Vientos goes around the horn to McNeil at second for the force, who fires over to Alonso at first. Double play. However, it wasn't. The Diamondbacks challenged the call at first. Replays confirmed that Suarez beat the throw, and the call gets overturned. So runner at first, 1 out for Lourdes Gurriel Jr. He lands a 1-0 cutter on the outer half of the plate, takes it the other way into right field. That puts runners on first and second. 1 out still. Alec Thomas at the plate, and Thomas catches a 2-1 cutter over the plate, lines it into center field for a base hit. Driving home Suarez, Diamondbacks now have a 1-0 lead. Gurriel advances to 3rd base on the play. Thomas advances to second, as McNeil had a throwing error on the play. So Diamondbacks put a run on the board. They have 2nd and 3rd. They're threatening for more. Senga then walks Tim Tao on 4 straight pitches. Bases loaded. That brings up Jose Herrera, 1 out. And Senga busts him inside with 2-1, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, up and in. Gets him to pop up to Vientos at 3rd base. 2nd out. That brings up Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll is always dangerous. He's done nothing really this whole series as well. Will he break out in this at-bat? Bases loaded, 2 outs. Diamondbacks have a 1-0 lead. They're looking to bust this game open. But Carroll gets a cutter, lifts it to deep left field. Nimmo goes back on the track, on the wall. He leaps and he makes the catch. The ball wouldn't have gone out of the park. I saw a lot of places on social media saying that Nimmo robbed him of a grand slam. That was not the case. The ball was inches from going over the wall. It would have hit the bottom of the orange line on the wall. But Nimmo did rob him of at least a double. Nimmo did make a fantastic play, run savings play. And, Senga, the Mets escaped the top of the 4th inning, only allowing 1 run. So Zach Gallen gets the Mets in order in the bottom of the 4th inning, striking out the side. He struck out Jesse Winker on a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Well placed, though. Top of the zone, inside, inner half of the plate. First out. He got Mark Vientos to chase a slider early on in the count. Then he foul-tipped an 0-2 knuckle curve into the catcher's mitt to complete the strikeout for the 2nd out. Then he gets Brandon Nimmo on a 2-2 knuckle curve that just dropped out of the zone for the 3rd out. The knuckle curve is really working for him this game, and it's really perplexing the Met hitters. Kodai Senga is done for the day. Genesis Cabrera, who was just called up, comes on in relief in the top of the 5th inning. He faces Geraldo Perdomo, forces him to turn around and bat righty now since Cabrera's a lefty. And he gets Perdomo to fly out on a 1-1 count fastball on the outside corner, right to Juan Soto on right. 1 batter, 1 out. He has a little bit of trouble locating on the next batter, Pavin Smith, and he walks him on a 3-2 pitch. With all 4 balls that he threw, no one near the plate, not competitive at all. Now you have runners on first, 1 out, Josh Naylor up, and Naylor hits a high fly ball to right field. Soto came in initially for a step, then he went back. He continues to go back to the warning track, Tyrone Taylor's racing over from right center field. He gets there before Soto. He leaps but crashes into the fence. The ball hits off the orange line, kicks back towards the infield. Soto recovers it, throws it in. Naylor coasts into second base with a double. Pavin Smith advances to third base. Second and third went out. The umpires convened to see if the ball was actually a home run. But after a quick discussion and replays confirmed, the ball was in play. It's a double, so the call was upheld. Met fans and Mendoza alike saw enough of Cabrera at this point. Max Kranick came on in relief. Kranick got Eugenio Suarez to fly out on an 0-2 fastball down and away to Tyrone Taylor in center field, deep enough to score the run. Both runs tag. So you got a sac fly for Suarez, 2-0 lead for the Diamondbacks. Pavin Smith goes to third on the play, 2 outs. Brings up Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and Kranick gets him to ground out on an 0-2 fastball, just out of the zone up, right to Alonso, who tosses to Kranick covering, and that retires the side. Zach Gallen is now in a groove, and he gets the Mets in order again. He gets Luis Torrens to ground out to Eugenio Suarez at third for the first out. He strikes out Jeff McNeil on an 0-2 fastball up and out of the zone, getting him to chase. And then he gets Tyrone Taylor to line out to Gurriel on left to end the 5th inning. Kranick back out there going to work, top of the 6th inning, and he stabilizes things a little bit for the Mets. He gets Alek Thomas to ground out to Alonso, who tosses over to Kranick covering for the first out. Tim Tower flies out to Tyrone Taylor in center on a 2-0 slider down and in. And then he gets Jose Herrera to pop up in foul territory to Mark Vientos to retire the side in order in the top of the 6th inning. Francisco Lindor leading off the bottom of the 6th and looking to get things started against Zach Gallen. But Gallen gets him with a 3-2 knuckle curve, which is has been his pitch all day long. So that's the first out of the inning. Brings up Juan Soto. And right now the book of Juan Soto must be to throw the ball over the middle and allow him to get himself out, because he got a cutter that was left right over the heart of the plate. This time he didn't miss it. He launched it into left center field over the fence. His first home run to Citi Field, 4th home run of the season, cuts his deficit to 2-1. But Gallen recovers and gets Pete Alonso to swing and miss on a 95-mile-an-hour fastball above the knees for the second out. And then after a 4-pitch walk to Winker necessitated a mound visit, Gallen busts Vientos inside with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, down and in for the called strike. And then he follows that up with a nasty knuckle curve, basically the same location, and gets Vientos to commit, ground out to Suarez at third, and that ends the 6th inning. With the lead now cut 2-1, Max Kranick still on the mound at the top of the 7th inning, and he faces Corbin Carroll leading off, and he strikes him out on a 2-2 slider middle up. So that's 1 out. Geraldo Perdomo up, and he takes Kranick deep on a 2-1 slider, thigh high, just backed up over the plate, got too much of the plate, took it deep to right field into the bullpen. So the Diamondbacks retained their 2-run lead. This is now a 3-1 game. But Kranick responds by striking out Pavin Smith on a 1-2 curve. He chased it down out of the zone for the second out. Then he gets Josh Naylor hit a ground ball to Alonso that he tosses to McNeil covering first to get out of the top of the 7th. Diamondbacks go to their bullpen. They bring on Ryan Thompson in relief of Zach Green. Brandon Nimmo leading off in the bottom of the 7th inning. He hits a hard line drive, but right to Gurriel Jr. and left for the first out. Luis Torrens now up, 1 out, and Thompson gets him to chase a 2-2 sinker in, off the plate for the strikeout, 2 outs. A little bit uncharacteristic of Luis Torrens to swing at a pitch like that, but it's one of those days. That brings up Jeff McNeil. He goes first pitch hunting. He takes an outside sinker up the middle for a base hit. So the Mets have a runner on first, 2 outs. But Thompson comes right back and strikes out Tyrone Taylor on a 1-2 slider up to end the 7th inning. Reed Garrett comes on to pitch the top of the 8th inning, and he strikes out leadoff batter Eugenio Suarez on a 3-2 splitter down and in. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. goes after a first pitch cutter. Up in the zone, he flies out to Tyrone Taylor in center, so quick 2 outs. And then he finishes off a dominant inning. He strikes out Alek Thomas on a 1-2 96-mile-an-hour fastball up and away, outside corner, and that retires the side. Kevin Ginkel now comes on in relief for Ryan Thompson, pitches the bottom of the 8th inning, and he gets Francisco Lindor leading off for the Mets. Lindor gets caught guessing, looking for something off speed, gets frozen on a 2-2 fastball at the knees for the first out. That brings up Juan Soto, fresh off his first Citi Field home run. He works the count full, 9th pitch of the at-bat, and he hits a deep fly ball to left center field again over the fence, 2nd home run of the game, 5th home run of the season. The Mets pull to win one again at 3-2 now. Maybe Juan Soto is finally awoken. That would be great news if this is the case. Pete Alonso up next. He walks on 4 straight pitches. No one near the plate. That brings up Jesse Winker. Falls behind 1-2. Then he hits a deep fly ball to left field over the head of Gurriel. Bangs off the fence. Alonso had to pause at second to make sure it wasn't going to be caught before continuing on to third. Then he was held up as the throw's coming in. It's offline. Easy after the fact to say Alonso would have scored if they sent him, and he would have. But in that moment, it was a tough call. You don't run yourself out of an inning. So the Mets have the tying run at third. Go ahead running at second. 1 out. Mark Vientos up. Vientos had a horrible at bat. He fouled off an inside fastball that he just should have crushed. And then he missed a slider over the plate. Fouled it off. Goes into an 0-2 hole. Ginkel throws 2 straight sliders down and away off the plate, trying to get him to chase. The count gets to 2-2. Then he chases a 95-mile-an-hour fastball up and out of the zone, fouls it back. And then he chases a slider down and away, out of the zone, strikes out. Horrible situation hitting there. A ground ball to the right side, a fly ball, ties this game. And Vientos did neither. So that's 2 outs, brings up Brandon Nimmo. Ginkel falls behind him 3-1. Before he gets Nimmo to foul off an up and in fastball, brings the count full. They'll be very careful with Nimmo. And I don't know what Nimmo was looking for. He gets frozen at a sinker at the knees, right over the middle of the plate, and that ends the 8th inning. So Garrett Reed back on the mound for his 2nd inning, top of the 9th inning. He's facing Tim Tawa, who's had a horrible series at the plate. But Garrett leaves him a gift, a 2-2 slider right over the plate. Tawa crushes it into left center field, over the fence for a home run. Gives the Diamondbacks a 2-run lead again, this time 4-2. Brings up Jose Herrera up next. He flies out on a 1-1 cutter to Nimmo on left. That's 1 out. Corbin Carroll up next. He works the count full. Reed catches him looking at an inside corner sinker for the 2nd out. For some reason, Mendoza decides to pull Reed and bring on Tyler Adcock. Adcock gives up a single to Geraldo Perdomo on a 1-1 cutter down the zone. Grounds it into left field. So now the Diamondbacks have a runner on first, 2 outs. He falls behind Pavin Smith 3-1. Walks him. So now his runners on first and second, 2 outs. And then there was an offensive interference call with Josh Naylor up. He swung and missed the pitch. 3-1 pitch, I believe it was. But he barely hits Terren's glove. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Eugenio Suarez up. Adcock should have struck him out on a 1-2 pitch that the umpire just missed. It was a foul tip into the glove of Terren's. So now it's 2-2. Adcock comes back with a slider right over the plate. Lucked out the Suarez, popped it up to Lindor at shortstop, and that's the 3rd out. So bottom of the 9th inning, Diamondbacks have a 4-2 lead. Shelby Miller on the mound going for the save. He faces Luis Torrens, and he gets Torrens to fly out on the first pitch to Corbin Carroll on right for the 1st out. That brings up Jeff McNeil, and McNeil grounds out to Pavin Smith, who tosses over to Shelby Miller covering the bag. 2 outs. No one on. Mets down 2. Tyrone Taylor up. And Miller gets the 3rd out, getting Tyrone Taylor to hit a slow ground ball to short, fielded by Perdomo, who fires to Pavin Smith, and that's a wrap. 3 outs. Mets lose. Diamondbacks take this game 4-2. Mets lose their 2nd game in a row. Lose the series to the Diamondbacks. Let's get into the takeaways. The Mets' mayhem player of the game in this losing effort is Juan Soto. Soto finally hit his first Citi Field home run in the 5th inning, and then followed that with his 2nd home run in the 8th, his 4th and 5th home runs of the season. Soto finished 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs, a walk, and 2 runs scored. Kodai Senga got the start in 6 days rest and was a disappointment. He struggled through 4, not really looking too comfortable on the mound. His official stat line reads 4 innings pitched, he allowed just 1 run on 5 hits, he walked 3 and struck out 6. He threw 87 pitches, but Mendoza took him out in the top of the 5th after a very tough 4th inning that he was lucky to get out of, only allowing 1 run. If the Mets are going to give Kodai the extra day of rest, he really needs to go deeper into games than 4 innings. So even though he only gave up 1 run, for me, this game was a disappointment. This was a disappointing start, and I'm sure Kodai feels the same. It forced the Mets to go to their bullpen after only 4 innings and exposed them. So the Mets utilized the 2 relievers they just called up, Genesis Cabrera and Ty Adcock, and it almost had a feel of Little League when you try to get everyone in the game. Cabrera lasted 1/3 of an inning. He allowed 1 run on 1 hit and a walk. He was bailed out by Max Krennic, who went 2 2/3, who allowed 1 run on 1 hit, walking none and striking out 2. Krennic gave way to Reed Garrett, who had a dominant 1st inning, but then allowed a leadoff home run to Tim Tower in the 9th, who couldn't buy a hit the entire series. Garrett was pulled with 1 out left in the game, brought on Adcock, loaded the bases before getting the 3rd out, so the Mets got lucky there. The Mets didn't do much offensively. He only had 5 hits, 2 from Juan Soto, who finally hit his first 2 Citi Field home runs. They left 7 runs on base, were 0 for 2 in their only 2 at-bats of runners in scoring position. They didn't have many opportunities in this game to score. So disappointing is the perfect word for this game. Kodai's start was disappointing. Lindor having an off day while Juan Soto finally woke up was disappointing. The Mets losing 2 in a row and the 3-game series to the Diamondbacks was disappointing, but it's part of a long season. The Mets look to get back on the winning side as they play Friday evening in St. Louis. They take on the Cardinals for a 3-game series. Tyler McGill's on the mound for the Mets. He's 3-2 with a 1.74 ERA so far, and he's going up against Eric Fetty, who's 1-3 with a 4.68 ERA. I'll be back to recap the game, as well as provide any other noteworthy Mets news. But until then, Mets fans, let's go Mets.